If you've been following the mainstream news for the last 3 months, you might have heard an unfamiliar term being bandied around: cryptocurrency. And if not, you definitely would have heard of the term Bitcoin. Bitcoin's been receiving a lot of press recently, both negative and extremely positive. And it's hard to differentiate what is what when you don't actually know what it is. There may be some merit to that thinking, but my strong belief is that people should have all of the knowledge available before they make a decision on something as important as their own personal financial investments. So as somebody who is still learning and is definitely not a financial advisor and is definitely not even close to an expert in the world of cryptocurrency, but somebody who has been listening to a lot of podcasts and has a very extensive interest in the world, I thought I would create a video to explain it all to you. So let's get started on some basics. First of all, to sum up cryptocurrency, it's important to know about a technology called blockchain. It's almost silly to even talk about cryptocurrency if you don't know what blockchain is, because it's really the technology that makes it all possible. Blockchain is essentially a computer-based, self-regulating ledger of transactions, and that already has some people putting their head in the sand, so I'll try and break it down a little bit more. Imagine that everybody in the world has a book, and I have stolen this from somebody else, but it works, so just go with me. Imagine everybody in the world has a magic book, and when you write down your name in your magic book, it turns up in everybody else's magic book. And there is no way that you can write something and it not occur in everybody else's book as well. And in this book, there's no eraser. You can't rub out a name. If you put something in the book, it's in the book to stay, and it's in everybody's book. So if somebody in Texas wrote their name in their book, it'll show up in yours. You can already see that this magic book idea is like an ecosystem. It's self-regulating because everything happens at once, it's instant. And another important factor is if you wrote your name in a book and somewhere in Sweden, someone's book didn't show your name, because everyone else's book says your name in it and theirs is the only one that doesn't, they get kicked off the system. So the majority rules, and that's how it stays regulated. Now we have the base, and we want to add on to it something like a contract. Let's imagine that person in Texas is called Wanda. If I want to give Wanda 1 apple, and I wrote in my book, Jessica gives Wanda 1 apple, her book will also say Wanda received 1 apple from Jessica, but every other book will also say that. So that's essentially how blockchain works. Everyone in the world can have access to this public ledger, and that really means it can't be tampered with. And this sort of idea of giving equal power to everybody involved on the blockchain and taking that power away from institutions such as banks or schools or credit unions or whatever, that's called decentralization, and that's a really important term in understanding blockchain. Most technology that is created on the blockchain is decentralized. That means that not one person owns it, and it can be regulated by the thousands and millions of computers that are on the blockchain. It's interesting to imagine a world where you don't need a bank to have money, and you can still trust that you won't lose your money. That's a world we haven't experienced so far, and it's a really exciting world. Everything else has sort of gone online and become democratized. Content has become democratized, like with places like YouTube and Facebook. Even the news has become democratized. You know, algorithms are created to give you the content and the news that you want. And so with all of this decentralization, it makes sense that the next step in technology is for currency to be decentralized. Nobody wants anybody to own their money because they want to be the only person who can make decisions about what they do with their money and where they get it from. So decentralization is really appealing to people who want to manage their own money. So this is where Bitcoin comes in, and other cryptocurrencies as well. Bitcoin is essentially a payment system. It's a currency just like the US dollar or the Australian dollar, and it can be used to buy anything eventually. There are people who are selling houses with Bitcoin and that sort of thing. So Bitcoin was created by this unknown dude called Satoshi. Could be a group of people, no one really knows, but because no one really knows, it's just a coin that anyone can own and barter with and use, the same way that we've used currencies as long as currencies have existed. But the thing about Bitcoin is that the way that it is created is through mining, and mining is this whole other field of knowledge that you don't really need to know unless you want to become a Bitcoin miner. But essentially it involves great amounts of energy being used to power computer servers that use algorithms to mine new Bitcoin. And each new algorithm that they make to make a new Bitcoin is harder than the last one. So the algorithm was set up in such a way that once it reaches 21 million Bitcoin, that's it. That's all the Bitcoin that will ever be created, and there will be no more. So at the moment, there are nearly 17 million Bitcoin in existence, which means we're nearly up to the 21 million that can be mined, except they don't think that the 21 millionth one will be mined by well after 2030. because it just gets harder each time they mine a new one. So this cap on the amount of Bitcoin that can ever be created creates a supply and demand. So if Bitcoin actually has a purpose, meaning that it can be traded and it is used by institutions and legitimized, that means that if there are only going to be 21 million in circulation, then people are going to want it. The more that it is legitimized, the more people are going to want it. And as we creep closer and closer to that 21 million mark, there are fewer left to get. So supply and demand sort of rages. But Bitcoin is just one of the coins that you can trade. So on the cryptocurrency markets, there are now hundreds and hundreds of different kinds of coins. And these coins are predominantly being used in the same way as shares. A company with a new idea that involves blockchain will announce an idea and announce what's called their ICO, or an initial coin offering. So they're basically going, here's our idea of how we can decentralize blah. Here's what we think it's worth. Buy some of our idea. Now, the companies that actually have white papers detailing what they want to do with their idea, detailing how they're actually going to turn it from an idea into reality, those are the companies that investors tend to grab onto because they are legitimate and they actually have worth. And some of these ideas are really extraordinary. There are crypto companies that are focused on foreign aid and being able to send millions of dollars to countries that have been devastated by earthquakes or hurricanes or that sort of thing. There are companies that are invested in monetizing content, which is a really big issue on YouTube and other platforms at the moment. Content creators are really looking for ways to be fairly paid for the content that they create, and there are companies that have crypto tokens that want that to be a reality. So that's the kind of thing that investors are going, these people are actively meeting a need, I will give you my money. And as a result, the currencies that are attached to those ideas ebb and flow with the market. So anything that's not a Bitcoin is called an altcoin. So you have your Bitcoin, and then all the other ones are called altcoins. So you can have an altcoin portfolio without any Bitcoin. But you do usually need Bitcoin to start off with because these other guys won't trade with anything else but Bitcoin. So you need your initial pool of Bitcoin, and then you can sort of swap in and out of these guys. So that's all good, that's all well and great, but how do you actually get started in Bitcoin? This is the number one question that I get. And remember, I'm not a financial advisor. I am just one girl from Sydney, Australia who has got an interest in it, and I've done a little bit of my due diligence, but I encourage you to do yours. Research. Otherwise, you will screw yourself over and lose all your money. Only put in to this world what you can afford to lose. That is the most important thing to know. Never invest what you can't afford to lose. Okay, disclaimer over. So to invest in Bitcoin, it's actually easier than ever. What I would encourage you to do is to go onto coinmarketcap.com and actually have a look at all of the different currencies and get really familiar with their charts and their ebbs and flows and get to see how they've been interacting with all of the other currencies. And also maybe do your own research and read up a bit on what they are. But to actually buy a Bitcoin, for Australians, the best platform I've found is coinspot.com.au. The international best one is coinbase.com, but Australians can't actually withdraw money from Coinbase, as I found out the hard way. You can put money in, but you can't take it out. So don't worry about Coinbase for now. It just sucks because the interface is so easy to use, but that's okay. CoinSpot is good too. CoinSpot, you set up an account. The identification and verification process can take a couple of days. It needs you to jump through all these hoops. You need to take a photo of yourself with your driver's license, blah, blah, blah. And then it'll usually take 24 hours for it to process. But once you finally have done all the things they ask you to do, you have your account, you can put money onto it with, I don't think you can do a credit card with CoinSpot. I think you have to just do Poly, which is like a bank transfer online platform, or BPay, just like you pay your bills. That's how I did it originally. I used BPay. A lot of Australians are familiar with BPay if you have ever had a parking fine. So you put in whatever you want to do. You can put in $1, you can put in $1 million. If you have $1 million to put in, take me out for coffee, I would love to meet you. But yeah, you can put in whatever you want. There are some small fees attached to it. I think CoinSpot's fees are pretty fair. I've had a look around all the other platforms and they're usually, I think if you put in $100, it's like $2 for a fee, which if you look at bank fees is extraordinarily nice. So you put in your money in Bitcoin. Then you have two things you can do. You can hold it, and on the internet they spell this HODL. It's a meme thing. It goes way back to like 5 years ago where somebody misspelt the word hold as hodl, and so hodling is the term on the internet for holding. Don't let it bother you. Just hold on to your Bitcoin like you would hold on to a bar of gold. That is one option. You can hold onto your Bitcoin for as long as you'd like, and chances are the value is probably going to rise. There are chances of a bubble crashing and that sort of thing, but to prevent that, there are things called stop losses. That's a whole other YouTube video if you want to know about stop losses and day trading. Type that into Google and you'll find out some information. But you can hold it, or you can play around with some trading. So I would always, if you were really interested in this and wanted to know more about the investment world and how to grow your money, I would do a bit of both. I would take a percentage of your investment and hold on to it, and then a small percentage and play around with the different altcoins. And there are plenty of platforms and Facebook groups and Telegram groups and podcasts and Twitter profiles that all encourage you to explore different altcoins and give you indications on when an altcoin might be about to shoot up or whatever, and it's all really interesting to learn about. But it's exciting in a world, especially as an Australian, and especially as an Australian woman, where there is not a lot of information out there on how to get started in share trading. I've always been interested in shares. I've always been interested in shares for technology, but in Australia it's very hard to buy shares in Facebook, Google, all of the internet technologies that we millennials are accustomed to. This is a way that we can actually really get involved because it's international, it's decentralized, and it's immediate. You can do it as quickly as you want to. You can sit on your phone and day trade on a train trip. You can do whatever you want to. Again, do not put any money in that you can't afford to lose. Another good way of looking at it is if you make a little bit of money with the money that you put in, then take out your initial investment and then use this money to invest in the future. And then you're just playing with free money. So that's a fun way of doing it. That way there's no emotion attached to it. Emotion can become your worst enemy in trading. But yeah, anyway, I think I've rambled on long enough, but if you want to know any other aspects of cryptocurrency trading, or I don't know, I'm not an expert, but I love doing the research on it, so I'm happy to make more videos. Just let me know what you want to see. I hope this video has been informative. If you want anything else explained in further detail, let me know in the comments or send me a message or whatever, and I'm happy to elaborate for you as much as I can, or I can point you towards people who know more. Yeah, do your due diligence, don't invest more than you can afford, and have fun. It's fun. The last thing that I'll say is please share with a woman, because the cryptocurrency sphere is broad and it's very male-centric. It's very dominated with men, and it's hard for women to be taken seriously in the cryptocurrency world. I have played around with a lot of Facebook chats and group chats online, and it's a lot of guys, and I would love to see more women involved. So encourage women to get interested in cryptocurrency. I think it's really important. I really don't want the women to be left behind because they're told not to be interested. So women, this is for you. Girls, this is for you. Get interested, because this is the future. I firmly believe that blockchain technology will be a household name in 5 to 10 years, and it will be as big as the internet. That's my belief. I'm quite happy to be proven wrong. I hope that I'm not. But yeah. Alright guys, thank you for watching, and please share my video if you liked it. Share it far and wide, and I'll sign off for now. My name's Jess Westcott, and thank you for watching my video.